What's up guys, this is Cher talking, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, let's discuss news for months in SaGa UniverSe. It's got the announcement of Byunei in the Dragons. Well, this is a very interesting banner because it has 5 different styles. That means that you will not get off banner. You get a double S drop, it will be one of the 5 styles here. 4 different dragons and Byunei. We already have all the information about their changes in global. We'll be discussing that in a few. There is also a new event coming up. It's the 3rd anniversary closing Super Training Dojo. Well, this type of events have usually 2 waves. Well, you have to fight against row, column, or single target. Usually against the single targets, you will have 20 BP on start. That means that you can easily level up skills and spells because they will also rank up faster. That's actually pretty nice. There's also a new accessory here. The HP cap is just 10 more points than the story mode right now. So that's nice. Now let's go to Reddit. Here we are on Reddit. Hands43 made a post comparing the JP version to global buffs. There's also a link to the video here, and they buffed Gwen to increase endurance and will. As you can see, they want you to use Gwen on long fights. Q has enough agility and SGR to do some damage. The first passive, we have a 50% chance to chase with skill number 3. That's a double S power attack with blunt and lightning that also self-boosts attack before it even lands the skill. So it's interesting because of the power of the attack itself. You also get 30% damage increase in this passive. The second one, we have a type of action switch, but it is more offensive than defensive. You get a 15% increase in damage when you attack with blunt and also recovers 2 BP. And when you attack with lightning, you get a 15% damage reduction and also recovers HP by close to 200. The third passive, you get a heat up of 10% increase in damage for the whole fight when you attack with weak attacks. And then when you receive a resist attack, you will get a defense up, decreasing damage taken by 10%, and this can stack 5 times in battle. That means that over the course of fight, Gwen becomes super defensive and will also do some good damage. Skill number 1 is a free one where you get a guard up small, decreasing damage taken by 12% for 2 turns, and it's actually part of his cycle. If you open the fight with skill number 3, that's a 10 VP skill, and then you use the skill number 1 to guarantee the guard up, and then you go back to skill number 3 because you are using blunt. And with that, you are getting 5 VP per turn. That means that you can cycle this perfectly. Skill number 2 is a full AoE attack with S power and 10 VP cost only. That's actually pretty powerful. We have Slash and Blunt here, so you're still going to get 5 VP in that turn, and it's critical to Human and Beast. Humans are usually weak to Slash, some beasts are also weak to Blunt, so that's nice. And he can actually use this on turn 3 again if he attacks on turn 2, so depends on the situations, you can actually use this pretty well. But on boss fights, you'll be cycling skill number 3 and then skill number 1. The only big problem here, in my opinion, is that, well, you don't have lightning on this first skill. But he can still do some good damage. It will not be Khalid or even Silver for lightning, but it just works. And on Blunt, it just easily loses to both Silver and Leon. So there's that. Moving on, we have Dora. And Dora is probably the best after Byunei here because we have 120 agility, 117 STR, and that's everything that matters. Even though it does have some endurance, it's a character made for farming. On the end of a turn, if no damage is taken, you get 4 BP. That's amazing. And then the second one, we have 30% increase in damage at all times, and then 15% more for ranged attacks. And then Great Battle Tension will give you 1 BP and 30% increase at all times. So we have 75% increase in damage, and starts the fight with 11 BP. It will allow this character to have perfect cycles when using the new formation Dragon's Dance Axe. This is a fast skill that hits column and heat and lightning damage and can be used 3 times in a row. That's right, double S power 3 times in a row with 75% damage capability. It's enough to solo events in story mode. And if the enemies are not aligned in a column, you can use the AoE version that's weaker but it's still A powered and can be used 3 times. Will easily finish Fido Island as well. If you're not using that formation, you can still follow up with a weaker version of the column attack, but that's not that important because Dora was made to be a solo farmer with very good potential, and if you bring Dora to Remembrance, you are not gonna get good value because there's no damage reduction passive. Moving on, we have Ganryu, and we have very good agility in STR, as you can see, higher wield and endurance, and there's that. This character recovers 3 BP on the start of the fight and has 10% damage increase, then 15% damage increase to the whole party, including itself. Then Great Weak Tension increases damage by 30% and another 15 when landing weak attacks. For a total we have here 30, then 60, 70% damage increase and starts the fight with 13, but also gives 15% to other people in the party. Works pretty well for Final Island if you think about it. Well, this is a character that has a very powerful AoE attack on start that has double S power, can only be used one time in battle, but can be used on turn 1, and has heat and cold elements. That's the same thing as Joe, but, well, it's very powerful, will clear any sort of wave, that means Final Island or events, and it does have a free skill that can be used on the next turn, but it's pretty weak. If you have the first limited version of Ganryu, you'll be able to use an S power version with 12 VP cost. That means that eventually you can use another AoE, but this character was not made for anything else besides farming. The second skill attacks randomly between 2 to 4 times, but on farming we don't really like this type of thing, and it's blunt and hit damage. Well, that's nothing really special. So this character goes use a very powerful attack and can use weak versions, but besides that point, it's just a one and done character. The next character is Snowy, and they buff it, endurance, will, and love. We have 100% love now, 105% will, only 70% endurance, so it's more useful for bosses with magical attacks. And in the end of a turn we get 15 points of overdrive gauge because this character has some mechanics related to overdrive. That when you attack on overdrive, it will always follow up with skill number 3 that we'll be discussing a little more. And when being attacked, damage taken is reduced by 25%. Not just that, with high protect tension we decrease it further by 30%, and you have 20% damage increase alongside great overtension that gives another 30 for a total of 50%. But if you get a combo, you get 65, and if you attack on overdrive, that will be 70% damage increase. Okay, skill number 1 is a very cheap skill that has 2 BP cost, the power AoE with just cold damage, and will recover HP of all surviving allies by around 250. The second one is a recovery skill that revives and heals for probably close to 2000 and also grants guard up medium, decreasing damage taken by 25% for 2 turns. So it's a revive skill that will be useful in Remembrance more than anything, but, well, it's useful anyway. Skill number 3 is a triple S power attack that has heat and cold, but before it even attack, you have an attack boost that increases damage by 20%, if I remember correctly, that lasts for 2 turns, and then it attacks. If you use it on overdrive, it will also recover HP of all surviving allies by around 250, and buff will by up to 30% on max level. And since we follow up with the same skill when attacking on overdrive, if you use this skill itself on overdrive, you have 2 usages and you will get 30% because the skill here will be used on max level, and then the chase one will give you 25 for a total of 55% will buff, 2 very small healings, so it's a pretty nice effect. But I do believe that it may be better used in the other version of Snowy that buffs will passively, so you can stack multiple buffs of will as a secondary buffer. The main one will still be probably Melissa or Matriarch, but that's actually a pretty interesting combination. Now that this character here does not work by itself, but as a full healer, it's not as strong as some other options, and as a full will buffer, it just takes time to build up, so it's an interesting option to switch between different styles. The last one is Byunei. They buffed her endurance and will. The more important thing was endurance buff because she only had 70%, but they didn't change anything else because she does have very good agility and intelligence already. Moving on, well, she has this first passive that increases damage by 15%, and she recovers BP by 2 on the end of a turn. The second one, she recovers another 1 BP, totalizing 6 BP by the end of a turn, and she starts the fight with 12. On the turn begins, she gets a heat up of extreme effect that lasts 5 times in battle. Heat Up Extreme increases damage potential by 30%. That means that by turn 5, she has 165. This character doesn't have any type of damage reduction passive, that's why they buffed her status. She relies on the skill number 1. That is a fast and can be used only once in battle, it's free, and buffs her endurance, agility, intelligence, and will by up to 50% on max level. You will have to manually level this up. And also gives her a defense up that decreases damage taken by 20%. That's everything she has, and she needs to use this on turn 1. But she also gives Heat Up. But she also gives a Heat Up that increases damage potential for everyone by 15%. So that means that she gets 180% by turn 8 after using this skill, and gives 15% to everyone in the party. Skill number 2 is a fully wind spell that just grants one let down medium to the targets, decreasing damage taken by 25%, lasts for 2 turns. Well, she has 6 BP per turn, she can keep this up forever if she wants. But her main design is to use skill number 3, that costs 12 BP, it's a double S power attack that hits for slash and blunt, but it's fast and grants damage block for 1 time to all surviving allies that lasts for 1 turn. Well, this is not like Final Press Shield that negates all hits in that particular turn. It will only block 1 hit in 1 time in 1 turn. So it may be very useful, but it also may not. Depend on boss behavior. Some bosses will only use a big nuke on a turn, some bosses will use multiple hits. In that case, it will not be so useful, but against bosses with big nukes, this actually is overpowered. You can use this every 2 turns because she generates 6 BP per turn, and that is actually awesome. So everyone will want to have Byunei for some future content. But now, is this banner worth a pity? I will say that most likely, because Byunei is a character that gets yet another style that will become a buffer, and having access to multiple styles of her will just give you lots of utility, and this damage block can be very useful in the right situations. And after Byunei, Dora is a very powerful attacker that will solo some content. Then we have Snowy that can be useful for a secondary wheel buffer. After that, there is Gwen and Genryu that don't offer much, but if you get them, you can also use them for something. So I'll be giving this banner a silver award, and we'll be making a full review later, but well, that's my opinion. What is yours? Please say here in the comments, and thank you so much for watching this video. Please subscribe if you haven't, and if you want to support the channel, there are links on the description. I hope to see you soon in the next one. Bye.